Hi everyone, welcome to another week of the Sun Bookshop Recommends. So this week, to kick us off, I will be recommending Dead Man in a Ditch by Luke Arnold. It's the second novel in a series by Luke Arnold. It follows on from The Last Smile in Thunder City, which was released earlier this year. And it follows the story of Fetch Phillips, who is a detective, a human detective, in a world where magic used to just be the norm. So there were trolls and witches and wizards and fairies and a whole range of different races of magical creatures. And in no surprise, humans decided that they couldn't handle that, so they destroyed magic. So you have all these creatures who were once magical and then forced to live in this sort of limbo where they no longer have magic, but they still have all of the features of being magic. And so Fetch Phillips is a private detective who lives in this world, and he refuses to have anything to do with humans. He won't take cases from humans. And yeah, it's just this really fun, really interesting concept in terms of the story and the world that Luke Arnold has built in Thunder City and the surrounding towns. And if you like the Ben Aranovich series, the Rivers of London, I think this is a really great series to get involved in. And I absolutely loved Dead Men in a Ditch, as well as The Last Mile in Thunder City. So highly recommend these ones.
Ooh. My recommendation for this week is Dave Warner's Over My Dead Body. It's his latest crime novel. I was having trouble reading, as you do in lockdown. In a crime novel, you just pick it up and, you just want to keep reading. This one, if you've read Dave Warner, you probably wouldn't expect him to write this one. It is, on paper, that a cryogenicist, Georgette Watson in New York City, who, is trying to revive the dead using gases, the special gases, reviving hamsters, turns out she was a distant relative of Dr. Watson, who tells her that there's a mystery in the family, and she ends up reviving Sherlock Holmes. And he ends up being in New York City, and they solve crimes together. It sounds completely ridiculous, and it is. And it's so enjoyable. There's a whole lot of there's some really creepy stuff in it, which maybe I'm a bit sensitive. So if you read crime novels at night like me and get scared, don't do it. But if you're fine with it, go for your life. It's just one of those books that's just so shamelessly enjoyable. It's really well written. He writes, Dave Warner writes Georgette's voice really well. I really loved her character. And having Sherlock Holmes come back in New York is hilarious. There's one scene where he's really shocked that you can't buy cocaine at your local chemist. He's like, what are you talking about? It's all these little quips, but it's also just a really great police procedural. And you really want to, you just really want to get to the end and, who done it, what's going on. It's genuinely surprising, but also just genuinely completely enjoyable, which I think we all need a bit of at the moment. So that's my book for this week. Edie.
All right. My book for this week is This One Is Ours by our very own Kate O'Donnell. And so while I am very biased because we love Kate, it is also genuinely one of the best books that I have read this year. I read it all in one go and absolutely loved every second of it. It's about 16-year-old Sophie going on an exchange to Paris, wanting to discover the world there, learn the language, and about how that unfolds, how she meets people, how it's not quite all she expected, how adjusting to a new society and a new language is more difficult than you might expect, about meeting the beautiful Parisian boy at school and all sorts of things. And really, what I have to say is that Kate is a really beautiful writer, and what I really admire is the way that she is just so able to capture how it feels to feel big feelings for the first time. And as you read it, you just feel that inside of you. It's also about more than that. It's about the world, the climate crisis that we live in. It's about protest, the history of it, how that's relevant now. It's about finding beautiful things along the way, the little things that we can do to stand up, the little things that we can do to make change, and the big things that we can do. It's a young adult novel, but it's also for everyone. It's perfect for a young adult audience who discovering their place in the world, who are impassioned about these things. It's also fantastic to read as an adult, to remember that. And it's a really timely novel about sort of protest and climate and everything like that. There is so much in here, and I just really, really loved every second and can't recommend it highly enough. So that is This One Is Ours by Kate O'Donnell. And that sums up our recommendations for this week. Thank you all for listening. I hope you all go out and read all of them.
Bye, everybody.